on this computer.
It's recording. I see the.
All right.
All right.
That was a challenge. We're there.
We're here now. Well, good morning, everybody. April 23rd, and I'd like to call the order of the LDC meeting today. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the March 26, 2021 board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Ken, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Andy, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Moving on to item number 2, Steve, the executive director's report.
Okay, let's see. We'll start with our loans. So the Troy Kitchen loan, which we had extended, we haven't received any of our interest-only payments. All right.
You did get it?
And so I conferred with Justin Squared, or however you want to go to that group, the Justins, and I checked actually with Redburn, which owns the property he leases from in Albany, and they're not getting any payments either right now. So just to ensure our position, I asked Justin to start basically reporting on taking an action against him. Or Justin, you want to describe what we're doing exactly?
Yeah.
Just hang on. We're getting like a lot of noise. I don't know if everyone can mute. I'm not sure. I don't know whose mic that is, but thanks. Sorry, Miller.
Yeah, I was having trouble hearing too. Yeah, just at this point, we'll probably just send out a notice of default and a demand and start the process of collection, and we'll keep the board apprised on the next steps.
Yeah, so I think it's
Steve, what's the balance of that loan?
about $16,000 out of a $45,000 loan. I think I'm glad we got as far as we did with it, and maybe we can continue, but that's what's outstanding is about $16,000.
Who's that for again? I'm sorry.
Troy Kitchen. That's Troy Kitchen.
Yeah, he hasn't been paying rent at either locations, Monica. So in Troy or the new one in Albany.
Yeah. Did we find out if he ever got any help, assistance, PPP, or anything else like that?
We didn't. I haven't gotten any return calls from him.
That's interesting. Okay.
He's always hard to get a hold of. It's usually if I have something to hold over his head like that, we're going to take an action, he might call me back. So I'll try that again now. But I haven't talked to him in weeks, months, probably a month and a half, I think.
Yeah, and hopefully the accelerated letter that Justin Miller will prepare will get his attention again.
Yeah. In doing our national grid license, it came to our attention that the E-Lot building is underinsured. It's insured at $50,000, which would even cover the cost of demolition. We have an appraisal of $500,000. I checked with Fagan Associates, and up that amount to $250,000 of coverage is going to cost us an additional $1,550 a year, $1,550. So I'd like to go ahead with that expenditure. Let's see, what else do I have to talk about?
So Steve, just to confirm, we're looking to increase our insurance policy on that property from $50,000 to $250,000, which would result in an additional $1,500 a year premium.
Correct.
Is National Grid going to use that since I have to get out of it?
Yeah, they are going to use it. We're negotiating that right now. Obviously, it's not going to be in May, as I told you originally, but we do have to start getting the city tenants out of there. It's more likely going to be October. Could be before then.
So is that a cost that we can have National Grid pick up as part of their rental?
I don't. What's another thing to add in, Justin? Any reason not to?
Well, we're getting license fees from them that are largely tied to our disruption and loss of use. The fees are tied largely to the acreage and the rental value and the building rental value. If this is a 2 or 5 or whatever $100 a year thing, it'll just be absorbed within what they're paying. I don't see that we'll be able to line item it specifically, but we do have license fees to take care of hopefully most of our disruption costs. And in the big picture, the amounts paid each year are largely going to help us absorb the HUD 108 debt service on the property.
Right. So I think just moving right into old business, we can keep talking about the National Grid agreement. So as I mentioned before, it took them a while to get back the agreement to us, red line from our version. Justin and Andrew Kreshik and I reviewed it earlier this week and made our changes, which we're sending back to them. The big changes would be, even though there are three phases of this, and they were going to do them concurrent or consecutively, they are now talking about doing them concurrently, so they're in there all at once. Yet they're still looking for a 5-year license, so we have some escalation clauses if it does go that long. We have they still phase 1, which is the one we would use to initially relocate the salt pile to. We could still get that one after 18 months. So it's not going to be next year. It'll probably be 2023 when we get it. Let's see, they tried to ask for that the road could be interrupted, and we made it clear that there can be no interruption of service on the road for county waste and county vehicles as well. Let's see, what else? They asked for the E-lot building, and they're kind of trying to make it seem like they were renting a palace, and if it wasn't, they could get out. I paraphrase the word palace, but we kind of make it no as is, whereas I'm not looking at the agreement right now. Justin, you need to give any major other things I should alert the board to, but basically we're going to send it out, and I imagine that'll take another month for them to get back to us.
Yeah, that's a good summary. Some of the things that we're focusing on involve, what could be complex logistics in the future, how each of their phases are going to be timed. They're going to be running concurrently, how our license fees are going to be paid through each phase, and how our priorities are going to be met by them, that include no interruption of traffic that supports the county waste transfer station, and to an extent, the county's wastewater treatment plant that's accessed through the private road that traverses King Fuels. So as they start moving through the site and disrupting and digging, what they may do for temporary roadways, rerouting traffic, all those mechanics, we're trying to work out the detail. They're a little complex, but I think we're starting to drill down on them. So I'm hopeful in the next 30 days we should have a couple of exchanges of drafts and get ready for daylight.
Couple questions. The road closure issue, county waste is only open specific hours, and the county can access their facility through Water Street. So if they need that main highway closed, that main street closed, maybe just put hours so that if they want to do evening or night work, they have the ability to do that, or weekends, because I think they're modified hours as to what county waste is actually open, just as if you need to do some sort of a middle spot with them. We've always heard about the phase 4 project, the waterfront side of it, the shoreline as the next piece. Since they want to do it all together, which I think is fabulous because that only speeds up our time frame a little bit, but they still want that 5-year commitment. Can we get them to commit to producing a plan for that last phase so that we can also begin to work on our strategic plan and design of that area, because we know we want some sort of water access point to that. So if we can commit to them to get us some sort of a plan for that next phase in the next, say, 3 years, that'll better able us to strategically be able to develop that site for long-term use.
I think we can ask that question. That's a good point. from what I had heard was that was something they were not gonna even get into until phase 3 was complete. So that they know what they found and where they went, but that seems a little bit
I'm
extreme.
just saying, just get the commitment from them in writing, in a
Right.
document that's signed and committed to, that they're actually gonna do the work. Because the problem is we're gonna go past the 5 years, and then we're gonna have to wait another 5 years for the shoreline work, and we're never gonna get to that point where you can fully utilize that access point. Because, you know, you have to unlock this site in order to do the stuff that you guys are all planning right now around Clementi and the salt pile. And you can't even start your work until you get that finished. So if you lock them in to somehow being done, at least the design of it and the plan for it, and to negotiate the next license fee if needed.
Yeah, you know, it was interesting in my discussion with John Spellman from the Department of Environmental Conservation. He had said earlier, if we want to do something in the river, go ahead and don't let the remediation hold us up. I'm not sure exactly what that impact would have on us after if we were to do something and they needed to remediate around there. But those were his words.
Well,
Right.
you don't want to dig twice. So
Definitely.
When is that 5 years up?
2026 December. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, so that's it on old business with National Grid.
Anyone have any questions?
no, I just think that we should really make sure that we try to get that in there so that we have some sort of teeth. Because we've been working on this for eons and eons. I mean, that's the whole reason the LDC was formed. I mean, Justin's kids have grown up with this project. So,
Not
but I
mine.
think,
I don't have any.
not you, the other Justin. But I think it's important we kind of start putting some teeth to it, because I mean, we can sit here all day long and just let them get away with it and languish it while they're continuing to make money and move it. So I would really push hard to make them include that.
We'll do that.
I had a question.
Yes, Ken.
Is this remediation, I can't remember, because as Monica said, it's been so long. Is the remediation the capping or is it the removal?
It's the removal. Some of it is removal. Some of it is in situ stabilization. So there's different phases.
So National Grid is digging down and removing the sludge?
Yeah, they're digging down. And in some cases, so I'm not sure exactly all of it. Some of it's removal and some of it is however they're going to stabilize. But it goes
Yeah,
down as low as 30 feet.
The quickest summary that I could provide in a non-engineering perspective is that there's 16 acres from the Winans-Kill running south to the 378 bridge. Of those 16, I think about 8 of them will be excavated, 8 to 12 feet down and refilled. That's largely phase 1. Phase 2 and 3 involve more intensive digging around the ELOT building, and including what Steve mentioned is in situ stabilization, which easily defined is going down 30 feet with a huge auger that's maybe 10, 12 feet wide, like a large drill. And they literally just pour in concrete and then create almost like 30 feet deep silos. So instead of digging all that out, they kind of freeze it in concrete. So there's, from the Winans-Kill probably down and around the ELOT building, that whole area is going to be largely turned into a large platform. And not as much digging out, but freezing it up.
Yeah, that's when I was saying capping. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, it's an equivalent of capping, but even better because you're not just putting a membrane over it. They're actually freezing whatever's bad into the ground, and it no longer migrates into the river.
I would also make sure in the contract that we are, because I haven't read the contract, but just make sure that we will have a completed as-built engineering document for that as well too, because we're going to want to know, especially once we get started with building and stuff like that, we want to make sure that we have those with all of the engineering details for the environmental work. And Ken, this is the same work that we started back in the day and then got stopped. Same stuff.
Yeah.
So it's great to have it going, but I would definitely make sure in the document that there's some sort of mention of us getting as-built for all the work.
Okay, and I'm sure that'll be part of the DEC filing requirement, but we will we will make sure we have wording in there for that as well. Okay.
All right, Steve, any new business?
Yeah, a couple items. When we renegotiated the county waste lease last year, including the city with tipping fees, we added $10,000 a year for road maintenance because they have such heavy trucks going through there on our road that we have to maintain. So last year with that payment, we received $10,000, which we have earmarked in a special account for road repair. I spoke with Mary Ellen. We didn't bill it this year. We're billing it now so that we get the other 10,000 as well this year. Coincidentally, there's about $20,000 or less work that needs to be done immediately south of the bridge over the Wine and Skill and a couple potholes on the Wine and Skill. It extends about 100 feet, not into the area that National Grid will be remediating. So I'm working with the city right now on their bid with Callahan to get pricing for that. But I anticipate spending up to $20,000 to do that road repair based off of the city bid. And it will be substantially more than mill and fill because a lot of those potholes go down, 8 inches. It's pretty in depth. So it'll probably be a scraping of the road and a replacement with fill and road.
Ken, looks like you got a question.
I do, please. Steve, the road you're talking about, are we talking about King Road in the site? Or are we talking about Route 4, like where all the roads
No.
come together?
We're talking about the LDC King Fuels property. If you go in off of Main Street and take a left and past the Sperry building, and the road has an S curve, and then you hit the Wine and Skill, and there's a bridge there.
Yeah, the King Road Bridge, yep.
Right. And then immediately at the edge of that and south 100 feet towards the ELOT building, that part of the road.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. I don't think I need a resolution to approve that spending. I think it's just in the minutes that we're going to spend that.
Okay.
Let's see what else. 2 other items. Property acquisition is down in executive session, so this is a non-Monument Square item. I'm just negotiating something elsewhere in the city. I think I've spoken to all of you individually about it. So just because of the logistics of going into executive session, there's really no need to go into executive session when we get to that point. And again, it's just a negotiation at this point. If we're going to do anything, I would come back to the board for discussion and a vote. Finally, on Monument Square, when we made this deal with the city and Hoboken Brownstone, the local development corporation received $50,000 that's in an escrow account to be used for costs associated with our expenses on the project, not legal expenses, but pro forma development, cost allocation, market studies, and additional grant writing. And we're at that point now where we need to hire someone. So Dylan, and I had hoped that Dylan was going to be on, but something came up with him. He put out, he actually researched companies that would be good at doing this, that have experience in complex projects, which this is going to be with financing them, all the details that we're going to need some assistance with. So he got 3 responses from HR&A, Bricker Consulting, and NW Financial. So HR&A, who I'm going to recommend that we go with, was in the middle of the pack there. NW Financial, we didn't feel they really had a good knowledge of New York State programs, though, as we got more into discussion with them. And Bricker had an expensive, they're much more expensive. So their proposal to us is basically there's 5 components of it, and it's more than the $50,000, but it's really a menu of services, and which include review of the project, review of state and local incentives, which we probably don't spend much on that. Confirming the project assumptions and the market trends, and then a financial analysis and public-private partnership recommendations. So again, we've always talked about the potential that this is partially owned by Hoboken Brownstone and could potentially be owned either by the city or the LDC, either for parking or anyway. But there's costs that are going to be distributed between the developer and that are really more associated with the public space. That so we need assistance determining that. And so I'd like to recommend that we go with HR&A for basically spending up to the $50,000 that we have. We can go back to Hoboken Brownstone if more funding is needed in the future. But I imagine that over the next month, we would probably go through about $10,000 or $15,000 over the next month or month and a half. And then I could report back in a month at the next meeting where we are.
Eve, do we have any examples of other projects that they have worked on?
They did send a pretty detailed list of other projects that they worked for with their portfolio of projects. So they have done large projects, especially down in New York City, and all over, basically all over the Northeast.
Okay, so they have had experience in New York State.
Yes, absolutely. They work in New York State, and I think they actually have someone local here too as well.
And the procurement of that, was it through an RFP?
It was not. It was emailed out basically to 3 individual firms. So we don't have a requirement that we need to RFP it. It was basically sent out with we got 3 quotes.
That's our procurement policy? I thought we followed the city's procurement policy.
The procurement policy, ours is kind of vague in the LDC, but it just talks about, I mean, it talks about quotes for professional services and getting 3 quotes. And it actually doesn't have limits that cover this amount.
Okay, and then this is the actual RFP not to exceed $50,000?
The
I don't
RFP,
want to commit to money that we don't have.
the agreement with them would be so we still have to get to an agreement with them. So now we're gonna basically get the agreement with them, and that would state specifically not to exceed $50,000.
Is there anything else in the $50,000 ask that we originally, and I might ask Justin that question too, when I know legal fees were exempted, but was there anything else that we thought we might be paying for out of that $50,000 that now we are going to have to find additional funding for?
There is probably analysis of condominium structures that we may need to find money for as well. You know, if we need guidance on condominium ownership, and we could have Justin work on that, or we could go out and have someone else do that. So there will be expenses involved with that.
And that's our responsibility, not Hoboken's?
It would probably be a joint responsibility.
Yeah, we'll look at it together, and by that point, they'll have an IDA application submitted. So largely, legal fees will be absorbed through that avenue once we get there. In the meantime, this is largely planning under the contract that Steve is proposing, and there may be and this is something that perhaps you could help follow up on. I think Andy Petrowski's out right now, but the garage financing, if you will, that we're looking at, the structure of how that would work and how that would be facilitated by the LDC and the city together, may require some assistance through the city's FA. If the city has a financial advisor, there may be some hypothetical or proposed debt service schedules or lease schedules that would support that project. So there may be a joint engagement or a special scope of work with the city's FA that will help vet out those issues. That would probably be later this year, I think.
Okay.
And
We're still working through details. So, you know, we're still putting this together.
Yeah, I just don't want us to get, I mean, we don't have a lot of money in the LDC, and we're not, who knows when we're gonna get the other money, but that's dedicated to South Troy. So I just really wanna make sure that we're watching our P's and Q's, that we don't get in the negative too quick.
Okay.
Especially if we only have the commitment of 50,000 legally in the contract with Samit, we have to amend that too. So
Right,
Just a
and
few things.
and this is actually, this 50,000 is earmarked specifically for that, so we can't use it on anything else right now. So I agree with you, we don't want to go over that amount. So I guess that what I would just need is a motion to approve negotiating a contract with HRNA based on their submittal.
Okay. So then do we have a motion to approve working with and negotiating with HR&A as the potential consultant for the Monument Square project, not to exceed $50,000?
I'll make a motion.
Andy, do we have a second?
Yeah, second.
Ken, any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Great. Thanks, Steve, Monica, and Justin Miller. Any further discussion for Steve regarding the new business he discussed?
I have something that's not on the agenda. Sorry, guys. Has David Bryce had a pretty extensive article in the paper this morning. Has he approached us at all for help on that with the FRIR or the atrium?
Not the local development corporation, if that's what you're talking about.
I am.
Not with the LDC, and most likely not with the city IDA. It'll be through the county IDA.
Monica, you unmuted yourself. I didn't know if you wanted to comment on this.
No, the articles that have been out are definitely a little premature, I'm gonna say. There's a lot of work to be done on that project, a lot of work to be done, and some follow-up. We don't know if we necessarily have bank commitments and stuff like that. It's a beautiful vision, and I think it's something that can be done, but there's a lot of homework to be done still too, so.
Great.
Chair.
Yes, Ken.
And I just wanted to bring up, Steve, we've already talked about this, and Monica as well. I guess Aaron Marquise, with the idea of the circus in the park, bringing that back to Prospect Park. They were looking for some support. I don't think the LDC is the correct entity for that support, but please keep your eyes and ears open for some avenues that they can use. It sounds like I mean, it'd be nice to get some usage in the park there, bring that. Bring folks in and, get some folks into the city. And I want to support the guy. I think it's a decent idea. I think it worked a couple of years ago, and whatever we can do to support him. Again, not through the LDC, but I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, and I have spoken to him on behalf of the CRC.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Yeah.
All right. We'll move on to the next item, the financials. Mary Ellen?
And Mary Ellen, usually I bring these up on the screen as we're going through them, and I can't seem to find my copy right now. So.
Does everyone have it pulled up on their own computer?
Yeah, I have it right here. Yeah.
Monica, are you able to pull it up as well?
Oh, and then, no, that's March. Why can't I had them, but I can't find them now. So.
Well,
okay, as long as
it seems like
else is
everybody
here.
has it up on their personal computer. So
Okay.
Mary Ellen, you can discuss it and we'll just scroll as you talk.
Okay, so the first report is a statement of financial position. As of 3/31, our total assets are $3,077,233 with $242,752 in cash. Our liabilities are $1,027,302, leaving us with a fund balance of $2,050,058. There are no significant changes on the statement of financial position.
Great.
Any questions? Nope. So our next report is a statement of activity for the month of March. And for the month of March, we have a deficit of $19,926. We had rental income, and our largest expenses were paying the pilots and paying for our audit.
Hey, Mary Ellen, the accounts payable, is that related to those pilots? And what are the accounts payable on the balance sheet?
The majority of the accounts payable is the $20,000 that when we receive from 7th Avenue will be paid to the city. So that's $20,000.
Gotcha.
What, 7th Avenue for what, Mary Ellen? I'm sorry.
So if you look up at the accounts receivable, you'll see we're looking to get $7,000 still for the 7th Avenue Park on behalf of the city.
Uh,
Yeah, we're.
And then when we get it, we will pay it to the city. So it shows both as an asset and a liability.
we were bundling those donations. Yeah, I'm remembering now. Thanks. Yeah.
I did put a request in by email to the contact for the foundation.
Okay.
Great. Anyone else have any questions for Mary Ellen? All right. Do we have a
Actually-
motion to? Oh,
Actually, I'm sorry,
Andy.
guys. Hey, I thought, I'm back on the statement of financial position. I thought we got rid of the Northern Drive property.
No, we didn't. We still own the Northern Drive property. I've been in discussion with, it's been taking a long time. But we still own it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from Mary Ellen? All right. Do we have a motion to approve the financials?
I'll make a motion.
Ken, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Steve, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thanks, Mary Ellen. And
Just, I should throw this out there because of our discussion that we had. I know it's still a month away or two, but in June, Justin Maydew and I will both be out for overlapping periods, and we'll probably move the June meeting up earlier than the normal third Friday. It may even be the first Friday, so we got a long May, so that'll still be 3 weeks after the May meeting.
great.
It'll only be 2 weeks after the May meeting, but we'll see. We'll work it out. I just wanted to let you know we're gonna have a June schedule change.
Steve, you mentioned we don't need to go into executive session, or?
Correct.
All right. Then there's no further discussion or anything. I'm going to we have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Ken, do I have a second? Everyone's raising their hand. I'm going to say Andy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Thank you.
You got everybody. See ya.
See you later.
Stay well.